Okay, here we go for this coast-to-coast ride. James Van Prague, of course, world-famous medium, has the unique ability to communicate with the spirits of men, women, animals, children who have died. James has spoken to thousands of people through his lectures, tours, demonstrations. I was on one a couple months ago. Here he is on Coast to Coast. Back. Hey, James, how are you?
Good morning, George. Good. How are you?
Good. I've got you in New York tonight, don't I?
Believe it or not, I just landed here a little while ago, and yes, I'm in New York.
I hope it's not jet lag.
I'm in, so it's okay.
We're going to keep you up into the wee hours. What time?
I took about 5 hours of sleep, so I'm good.
Are you up early?
I went to bed about 8. Now I'm up early, and then I'm going to go do a TV show tomorrow morning, so I'm okay.
You might as well stay up all night long.
No, I slept. I had 5 hours sleep.
So you're okay. You'll go straight through then.
Yeah, sure. I'll be doing some ironing as I talk to you.
Good for you. Good for you. Hey, I'm still getting calls and emails about that event you put on that I went to witness in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it was a great event. I don't do many events in L.A. anymore, which that's going to change because a lot of people want to come to that. I do them in Laguna Beach. I do about 100 people just to keep it very intimate.
This one was huge.
Yeah, that was huge. That was probably about, 400, 500 people.
Easy, yeah.
So that was very, very good with Tony Stockwell from England, and I will do more of those. Mm-hmm.
This is interesting. I mean, you're doing work now connecting children in their souls with heaven and their connection with the living. Tell me about this.
Well, for many, many years, I've worked with parents who've lost children, and to me that's really the number one devastating loss we can suffer while on the earth. I mean, I've been through many, many, many losses, and that's by far the hardest one to deal with as a human experience. So I really wanted, and it's not only me, I say Spirit also wanted me to write a book that could help parents about their children that have passed over and tell them what's going on, that they're not dead, and what's going on the other side, what are they doing with the activities that they're involved in. And also by reading this book about them, they realize who they are as a soul. So it's a very valuable book and a very important book. And I just outlined it last year. I never knew what I was going to write, as all my books. I started meditating, and the words came through. And old readings, that I did years ago, came through. And it's a great book. Really, I cry every time I read it. Today I read it for the 4th time on the plane. I cried again.
On the plane?
Yes.
Who was sitting next to you? Someone's going, oh, my gosh, he's crying.
Yeah, he's crying. So they said, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm fine. It's just a very emotional story.
Do you get recognized? I know when they know your name, they know who you are. Do you get recognized?
Yes, I get recognized when I don't want to, and I don't get recognized when I do want to. When I want an upgrade, I don't get recognized. But when I'm shopping at the grocery store looking for dog food, yes, I get recognized.
You get recognized. That's funny.
And people have a false a sense that a medium who's walking down the street can just see spirits around you, and that's not how I work. As a medium, you have to really tune in, if you will, meditate.
Right, you got to get in that mode.
Yeah.
There's no, a couple weeks ago, James, somebody called my program during my open lines and said, "Tell me what you're afraid of. What scares you?" And I said, "There's only one thing that scares me, and that's losing one of my 3 children before I go." Mm-hmm. That scares me. And then I see your work here with this connection. I mean, when we take calls today, hopefully we'll get calls from some parents who have lost children, because I'd like you to be able to talk to them.
Sure.
But that is, for me, the most frightening thing. It's a very human
condition. It's a very natural reaction to have, because you always expect that you're going to go before your child goes. So it seems very unnatural. And that's true. That's part of it. But on a soul level, it's very, very different, because we're only looking at a human physical level. But on a soul level, that soul might have only needed 10 years, 18 years, 30 years, and then it's time to move on, to graduate, if you will. And also, George, in another lifetime, maybe the parent was a child that left early. So It has to be balanced out. It's all about soul growth. You have to look at it from the bigger picture, a bigger perspective. It's much more than human. We are souls having human experience, not the other way around.
Is the soul journey for a child different than an adult?
Well, first of all, I think that there are many levels of soul awareness, soul evolution, if you will. I think this earth is a place where we're thrown together of souls from all different levels of awareness. Some are very evolved, some are unevolved. Unfortunately, this earth world is a very unevolved planet that we're living on, because we're still killing one another. But there are many, many planets, many solar systems, many forms of beingness, many forms of being alive. I think that we come down here with a group of souls, which I write in the book about soul packs. And we choose our soul packs. It's kind of like an attraction. and you come back to learn various lessons, not only for yourself, but for the soul pack, so you can evolve as a soul pack.
I've got to get your reaction, by the way, to this May 21st rapture date. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard.
I'm already in rapture, George.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sitting in rapture. I'm on the right hand of.
You're there. You're there. But I mean, now he said he was wrong. The date's October 21st.
Oh, human beings, aren't they funny?
He's going to milk this for 5 more months.
Of course, and then it'll be.
And then nothing will happen, and he'll come up with another date.
Yeah.
He was wrong in 1994. He's doing it again. But my question to you, though, is you see all kinds of things. Why do people follow that? I mean, these are folks who really believe it, and I'm not going to put them down, but they really believe this, and they will follow this person. They'll follow him on May 21st. They'll follow him on October 21st. They'll follow him if he says it for next August.
That's right.
Why?
It's much, much easier for people to follow than for people to take responsibility, as per why we have religions, because it's so much easier for someone else to make the rules than for us to be responsible for our actions. That's really what it is. So it's unfortunate because people will not stand up for themselves, don't want to take responsibility. They want to blame it to somebody else. Oh, that's God's fault. Oh, that's somebody else's fault, instead of taking the responsibility ourselves. It's so much easier. And, of course, as human beings, those who are in charge, the manpower, as I call it, the ego, they love to be in charge of and control the masses, because once you control the masses, you can control anything. And over the years, I think centuries, I think that's what religion has done. And I do say, and not all religion is bad, I say the extremists. That's the bad part. I think within religion, just like because I was Catholic and I went to a seminary, that in religion you can recognize the truth in that path to the truth. I was raised very Irish Catholic, and I went to Mass every day. I was going to be a priest. And I remember I was in the seminary, and I was saying a prayer, and I heard in my head, whatever you want to call it, you want to call it God or whatever, or a guide, whoever.
Whatever it is.
Saying to me, God is much bigger than these four walls. You must find God outside these four walls, which is very true. And guess where I found God, George? I found God in every single human being.
Yes, exactly.
That's where I found God.
And it works for you.
Yes, it certainly does work for me. It's harder because the more sensitive you become, the more aware you are of the pain and suffering of human people, and also how human people really limit themselves and they don't recognize God themselves, their own God. I think we're all God, and I don't think people recognize that within themselves. They're looking outside themselves for God. That's the problem.
How do you handle, because I've seen you at these events, how do you handle it when someone comes up to you afterward and they're crying and they're putting their arms around you, James, and they just need that from you? I mean, how do you handle that?
Well, it all depends on the exact situation, but I'm more of a medium. I'm a counselor. I'm a priest. I'm everything. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm a little bit of everything for people because they're desperate. They're really hurting. They're desperate. So you really want to take that person aside and sit down with them and talk to them. And many, many times I find, I'm just giving you a general here, I find if it's a parent that lost a child, it's usually guilt-related. If only I didn't give them the keys. If only I had said this. I wasn't there when they died. And I have to help them to realize that that soul could care less if you were there. Don't blame yourself for their death. It was not your fault they died. And I have to go, of course, on an individual basis and really walk them through it. Sometimes that involves bringing through their dead son or daughter if they're there. I've done that before, and I've done a book signing. So once I do like a book signing or I do an event, I'm very open, and whoever comes through comes through. But that has happened in line where I've brought through spirit. And a lot of it, though, does come from guilt, I must say.
Well, what do you tell the parent who says, James, I got in my car, I didn't look behind the car in the driveway, my little kid was on a tricycle, and I rolled over him.
Yeah, I've had several of those.
What can you tell somebody?
What can you tell somebody? It was an act. Well, you can say it was an accident, but there are no accidents. It's very hard because each situation is different. I will say that the soul is not dead. Don't blame yourself. The soul would rather prefer you not to blame yourself, because if you stay in life blaming yourself, hurting yourself, you won't help yourself or other people. So you must realize that soul is very, very much alive. And we don't know why these things happen, but it happens. And now it's time to move on and to use that experience to better yourself and the people around you and the situations in your life.
Well, and you just said something that's very important. We don't know why this happens.
George, it's true. I don't know why that happened. I don't believe in accidents per se. I feel, how would you not believe in accidents? I don't necessarily believe in accidents, just like I don't believe in time. I don't think time exists. I think we're outside of time. I think time is only a constraint of this three-dimensional world. And when they say accidents, I have a hard time with accidents. I do believe in people's free will, and I do believe that people's free will gets involved sometimes that will affect us. That I do believe. But coincidence, I think coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. I do think there's a bigger play at hand. And I think in some way we are puppets working out what we're supposed to work out. I do believe that as well.
I do not accept at this point someone saying, well, it was God's way. God wanted this person to die, and that's what happened. I can't see that, especially with a child.
That's right. That's right. I'd rather say, well, maybe that soul chose that way. We don't know. We don't know. I don't know. Even though I talk to people who passed over in another dimension, when they come back to me, I know that I'm limited in this human faculty. I'm limited here. So for the reasoning why this happened, the grand scheme of things, I probably won't be able to comprehend that in the three-dimensional body that I'm in. I'm sure there's a much bigger scheme. And once you've passed over to the other side, you begin to see what I call the thread work. What's actually going on, why the soul had to go through a certain experience, why the parents had to go through a certain experience. And it's really, really fascinating. I will say that.
I've heard all kinds of electronic voice phenomena. I've heard ghostly murderers, go, I'm going to kill you and stuff like that. But when I hear, James, when I hear the voice of a little ghostly child, it just sends shivers up my spine. Why? It's an innocent little child, but for some reason it freaks me out.
Well, I'm just going to relate to you. One of the first stories in my book was this. It's just a great story. It's called. It's about a girl named Kylie. I was in a funeral home once, and I was visiting. It was my cousin down in Virginia, and for some reason I don't know why I was there when he died because I never go to Virginia, so I happened to be there, and he died that week. So there I was. I was sitting outside the chapel, and all of a sudden this little girl came up, clickety clapping. And her name was Kylie, and she wore a pink dress. She was very, very pretty, and she was very solid. And I said, hi, how are you? And she goes, I'm fine. She goes, my parents are crying.